Good morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
Really good. I mean, just kind of plugging away. Had some pretty good moves in software. Had some hedges go nuts. Just sort of the condition that we're in, and oil. I was pretty well positioned with that. Look at a post. Oh, I don't know, 6 8 weeks ago. I said I'm kind of about 30% oil, natural gas in my whole, just overall, and it's kind of where I wanted to be. So that's paid off just with the geopolitics. And I mean, the thing about the way we trade, like I didn't know the why. I had kind of a sense of some levels, and the flow picture was pretty definitive for what I look for in oil. So it could have been many things that did it, but people were positioned for that, and so I kind of tailed that and did really well on in that space. And then got the hymns move after hours is going to be for a night make for a nice Monday for me too.
Yeah, not. I mean, probably 50-50. Not a great week over here. Some short-term plays did all right though. Circle, Alto, been on that for a few weeks. Roku hitting 100. SOC, thank you, P. Pins didn't get enough, but I got a little. But a lot of the other stuff, that I've been in for a while. You move those stops up if you're diligent in that. Well, you get some pullback and you kind of get out of that trade. So Victoria's Secret, it was fun. 18s to 50 where my final stop was. Not a bad trade overall. But that thing runs to 60 or any stock like that, runs 60, 65 and, pulls back a little bit. And the account looked one way and it looks the other way. So, um, you know, you take 20 and you give back four. I mean, that's fine with me. And just one of them weeks where you had to pay the reaper on them pullbacks on some of the longer swings. So a little more cash for me this week, to be honest, than I have been for a while. Man, Hims took off at the wrong time. I needed another week there, but good overall. I mean, not expected, and I kind of feel like I've had my hand in the cookie jar the last few weeks anyway. So um, yeah, where the market's at, so to speak. You look at um, the SPY QQQ stuff, and you see the pullback there. So excited to get through ERs, get into kind of some of the boring stuff, more of the smoother moving stuff, and get to the end of my what was 4 to 6 weeks, which is now let's call it 3 to 4 weeks now.
Yeah, and there are some. I mean, you talk about needing another week, or it kind of almost getting to a level and being a little cheap. MDB on that big drop. So had the kind of the lotto through the ER, and um, yeah, that was up pretty big, but it was about $10 off the level I wanted before it bounced quickly that next morning, and kind of held that. And it was just for me, that was just a lesson in um, you had a plan for this level, didn't hit the level, it bounced. You know, oh well. And I had snow instead, or under a level, so just that's a little different for me. I mean, I normally would buy into the last 15% of a move I anticipate, but I decided to wait this time, just with the overall market conditions. So if I'm out of them this round, that's I'm willing to deal with that. Uh, and then there's some others like the Marvel just the other day. Had that in the had that in the casino page, and the way I did it was the short term put monthly calls. That's a common setup in there, and it it just took off, popped 20%. calls did exceptionally well. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to buy shares. Whereas if the put had worked, what I usually do is I'll then, if it's at a level, I'll buy some shares with that, and then the calls can, will often recover over time. Kind of the setup I prefer, but there's just so much out there for us that, being willing to let something go and not, feeling the need to kind of spread myself in um, over a whole sector is is helpful. I mean, just having a bigger picture and so much experience with so many of these stocks that, I'm fine with not owning a couple of them, even if it's one of my favorites, I guess.
Yeah, it was tough. I was wondering where I was gonna go, but you helped me out there. It's tough doing notes this week. Like, I'm not a big like sector or theme guy. When I do my notes, I get diligent into that when you identify something and we attack it from there. Or I see something in your list that tells me to go look at the sector. Maybe drones a little bit last week. I went and checked out. Right, brought a couple to the table, but this week it was just the names.
Yeah.
If anyone caught that, I mean, there's a couple on there that aren't names, but there's a big reason why they're on my list. But they're literally just the names. And the other, 40 stocks that I got on my list that are on levels aren't necessarily names, but they're names we know well. And they'll come up during the week. Those definitely are the bulk of what I bring in Tuesday. But the reason behind that is kind of you touched a little bit on it, and it's a big point I want to make today is where's the market at, and it takes me a while to figure it out, and yeah, we have the geopolitical stuff, but if you let the smoke clear on that, like really what's going on in the market without saying Trump or something like that, and we're just rotating. I mean, we have identified that. I mean, that's the easiest word. That's the vanilla. We're getting a hamburger, so to speak. But what's on that burger? And it's a value versus growth rotation for me right now. And to keep it really short, I mean, we're definitely looking for value. I think we're redefining what value actually is currently in the market in the AI and Bitcoin era, so to speak. And
Yeah.
the it's also a broadening or narrowing you need to pay attention to, and we're rotating into value and we're getting really narrow, it seems. So that when we're broadening, that's when you're going to see a lot more of the sectors being attacked and looking for every last thing spread across the sector. So that makes sense why you would say I'm not as spread across sectors as I usually am. um,
Yeah.
because it's just where the market's at, and I mean that saves just me, you, and everyone so much knowing those conditions. And currently, redefining value is I think why you see you haven't really let go of the beer and alcohol, and you were big on the oil,
Yeah.
and whatnot. So yeah, I'll let you go there.
Oh, yeah. Right. And the the thing for me, the I guess the um, if you look back on these sessions over months, so
Yeah,
copper had that big dip, and I was, pretty adamant at that being an opportunity, and it had just come off, from where it fell. Like, you go back even further, that was a whole discussion for us, and I was talking, FCX and the Southern Copper um, and all that, and then for those, some of those to actually hold their gains at higher low, and you find you find some smalls and whatever. I just, for the people who follow closely, just kind of want them to see that process and how that works, and the way that we talked about oil in relation to the price of the commodity. There were a couple times where I was like, ah, this is dipping a little far. I'm not really great with I'll just call it up real quick. But I'm I just kind of wanted it to be stable and not, it was fine for it to bleed out. But yeah, it was, when it went under 60 a couple times, I'm just like, I don't really you don't really want it to linger under there too long, and you don't want to go to like $40 oil. I just feel like that's a little too much of a shock to the system. But there were oil stocks we liked the whole time, and the way that we did it. There was times to talk about Exxon. There were definitely times to talk about Oxy. Um, your sentiment on Devon kind of changed a little as it lingered down there, and as usual, I bought into that move down pretty much the whole time, and I was about three-fourths of the way into it, and then you like Devon. Um, Dino, we're almost always on the same page about when to buy that one, and then some others, kind of cycle in. So I guess where I'm going with this is what I want people to be able to do is to play the long game a little bit with with the work that we do, and um, I'm I don't try to obscure really anything when I'm talking, but there are times when you study someone's process and delivery and all that, you kind of can learn to read between the lines, sort of understand their rhetoric, and you pick up on that. It's like when professor says this, I kind of know what he means. He's a little understated. He's not going to hype something, but it's kind of it's go time in this sector, and that's with oil, there was plenty of time, many approaches to position yourself for the move that we're in, and you don't have to buy anything right now if you did that. You are just selling, and even as like an option guy, I'm not trying to really manipulate my positions through options or anything like that. I'm just, you know, I'm scaling out and deciding what to keep. And that's kind of where I want people to get. And so as we get back into sectors and we start talking about Coca-Cola and the spice rack and Pepsi, or whatever comes up, and I start bugging you about Fizz again or something. I just want people to learn to follow the story and trade the story, because you do leave a lot on the table if you just try to hop on the shiny thing as it's shiny, instead of waiting, dusting it off and finding it early. So we always talk about something being a style. Trade around our style and our a style of our conversations, and I think you'll do pretty well.
Yeah, I'm forcing that point. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a swing
Yeah,
trader, so I'm gonna make people swing trade. Um, Market conditions don't really matter. It's just something I'm focused on because you're right. That's where the the best of the use the work is at, um, and I think people are seeing it. Um, you have to not necessarily prove it, but you have to show them, and it makes sense. And I think the Target and Netflix really hit home with a lot of people. So
yeah,
not that I mean, for me, it's like, well, we're legit. What else can I say? But just it's $100. It's Tesla. You'll be fine in 3 years. I guess that wasn't enough, but or you with Facebook, it's 80. Like, is it going out of business or
yeah,
what? I know. Yeah. I mean, I understand a lot of them um, being not necessarily thank you trades, but ones you just don't want to hang out. Like BE for me, P. Um, Man, that chart's done from the $24 it was on the auto RTL when I identified it and got in. I didn't even
yeah,
take that 100%, and it's what, 1, 2, 3. It's probably 6, 7x right now. So just kind of knowing the ones for me, that's the biggest skill. I probably put SOC in there right now. Like, yeah, I took most of that off the table on that. It's 50%, 60% move.
yeah,
And just knowing the ones to hang out with and not falling in love with a shitty company with a decent story. Making money off of them and putting it into the ones that are a little better long term. Um, I don't know. I just rinsed Victoria's Secret, and some people say that's a good company, but it's a good company to a 4x trade. You know what I mean? Am I gonna
Yeah.
4x it again in under a year? Probably not. Thank you very much. You know, and then you kind of move on from that. Unless you want to be, I mean, unless you really do want to be an owner, but um, at Victoria's Secret, we could probably make a case for the other one, SOC, Alto. Probably not. Even the rig. You know, I'm not going to own that forever. That's just going to hit a target with what I have left, and we're going to call that a day.
Yes, and some of the ones that you mentioned, like so, Netflix, it had kind of the perfect storm of the stock split and then the acquisition story, and then as often happens, news of pulling out of an offer when you're the big dog, will boost your stock and kind of gave you that kind of that extra bit of juice. But I remember, so I was pretty early on. Well, I mean, not really. Well, sort of early on AVGO, like $600 early, and that first move to 1,000 or whatever. But it wasn't until it split again that a new setup really kind of emerged, and even some adjusted levels I had came back on it, and that that was kind of a big lesson for me. I hadn't really experienced that much in the market. Like I knew that Apple was the price it was because it had split several times and whatever, and I used to not really care about those because I'm like, well, I could just buy fractional shares anyway. Who cares? But things like stock splits or the one I hadn't mentioned this. I want to talk about this one, like so S&P inclusion.
Well,
The
that was
way that
Netflix. That was Netflix. You did
yeah,
talk about it.
the way that that the way that that kind of shapes a stock in the opportunity. So um, it makes a big difference. Those stories, and there's an initial pop there, an announcement of a stock split does something to it, but also just later on, especially watching option flow, because all of a sudden you have the volume of options will quadruple just by the split itself. So there's a lot more moving in and out and things, and staying on top of that and kind of trading that. But just if you could give a little of your history with splits or S&P inclusion and kind of your thoughts on what happens there and how we trade around that.
Oh, splits are one of them things. Like my introduction to splits and what they are now are like two really, really different things. Because it used to be
Yeah,
something, you would in the momentum days, like, it was like a newsworthy event to push it 600%. Um, which, yeah, that was all good and fun. But the smaller stuff nowadays, I've noticed you just don't want to be in till after the split for
yeah,
the most part. The bigger names though, it's usually pretty bullish. Um, they don't usually take a big drop. The Netflix was just that's why I think we got into Netflix because it kind of was going um, against the grain, so to speak, or whatnot. And Nvidia did the same thing, and you just do the for me you just do the math. Um, Nvidia, well, I guess we could use Netflix, but Netflix was like 1,200, so or maybe it was 1,400. I don't know. So it was 140. You bust that down to 75, and you're like, this is too big of a haircut. And the same thing with Nvidia. It was, I think it was 1,300, and it splits, and then you get down to 92. I think that was an 8-to-1 though. But anyways, it just the math looks different pre-split. You know, the pre-split level or the pre-split level makes sense and it lines up post-split, and you just kind of go from there. Um, so I love it on the bigger names because it still kind of is newsworthy. Just really, really cautious on the smaller stuff. Um,
yeah.
Fubo would be the
Well,
one right.
the
Fubo would be the one right now. I mean, it's waiting for a split and it's just getting choked out. But after the split, I'll look for a level that lines back up, and go from there. So yeah, like playing into them. Um, yeah, I don't think it's like a read the report thing, but um,
yeah.
offers good
Well,
pullback
the
from good
reverse
plays.
split, I like some of those the way that it'll kind of wake up a stock that we wouldn't touch. So even if Beyond Meat does one, all of a sudden flow gets relevant again. And there's I don't even know, I don't 100% know the mechanics of why this happens, but I mean really for me it's just like, okay, there's I got some option strikes to work with. I'm not talking about 50 cents and a dollar. All of a sudden I'm talking about $8, $10, $12, and they condense the number of shares a bit so the float gets a little bit more manageable.
Yeah, but
And here we go. So
but
even the shittiest of the shitty companies, or you get the ones like Root. I think Root reverse split at some point,
yes.
and then went absolutely nuts off a level. I mean, talk about not getting all of it. I mean, holy shit! But I got enough, like 300% or something. But anyway,
But
yeah, no, I'm definitely with
do
you.
you see like Beyond Meat's like 80 cents? So it's, let's just say it splits and goes to $8 because it's 80 cents. So now your $8 strike and your $12 strike is really an 8 cent or an 80 cent strike and a $1.20 strike pre-split.
Yes.
Um, I just don't know if you look at it that way because that's how I look at it from my side. Is, well, what was it like? Where are we moving pre-split um,
Right. Right.
on the chart? And I usually go from there at least for the first like year.
Yeah, well, and it's well, those are strikes that can't exist when it's 80 cents. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's the hardest read in options, and I'll throw a couple at you. But I mean the dollar strike is the only thing harder is something where they're 250s your lowest. I mean with a
Two
dollar
fifty
strike
five. Yeah.
at least you got a dollar, but it's so cheap that it's noisy because whales don't even know. They'll just throw, okay, I'll buy this thing 70 cents. All right, I'll buy $1,000 leaps. Okay, who cares? And and so it's like I don't want to. I don't really. That's not the trade I like to follow. I think they're probably right. It's a pretty decent gamble, but it's sort of like a I don't know, sports, you see a money line that seems kind of off. And it's like, yeah, I like this side of that one. And then, tend to be right about that one off, but there's not much of an edge there that I'm comfortable with. So yeah, give me 8 to 10, 8 to 12, 8 to 12 with the boxing glove to 15, and now all of a
Absolutely.
sudden we got something to work with.
Yeah, for me, it's more about the follow through on those kind of things, and I just have found through the years that the exactly what you just said. I'm like, sign me up. The 8 to 10 is better than the 80 cents to a dollar, and you'll still get the psychological pop of 20-40% on both of those. That dollar stock go to $1.20, $1.40, no problem, and the $8 one that goes through 10 goes to 12, 14, no problem. But I've just found in my days that the dollar one will go back to the dollar much quicker. It takes the less candles for that 40 or 20 cents to cover. Sometimes it's the same candle. Then it does that two or $4 move on a bigger stock. Usually doesn't bleed out as quick, just and easier to get in and out of um, on the share side for me. So I like those better. That's why I tend to stay away from them. And then again, you have more strikes in both directions. It's really hard to have like the in the 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 thing we're talking about here, or 8 to 12 to 15 thing we're talking about here. It's real hard to see if they have 6, 7, or 8 puts on anything that's not like or anything that's in the 60 or 80 cent range. So having that variable for me is big. Using your work as
Yeah.
opposed to just like when you say I got a dollar strike, I'm like, sweet, yeah. There's people that bought there usually because
Right.
somebody didn't want that to fail at some point in time. So um,
Yeah, and back to back to oil real quick, and kind of
hey,
related to this.
rotate to the
Oh,
boring
go ahead.
stuff. Let's do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had a quick question on the this is a moment in oil where you get the small cap. Some of them don't even have options.
Oh
Just the
yeah.
real crap that goes, that goes 80% one day and 30% the next day.
Okay.
Did the last run on this? Did you get in on the CEIs of the world,
Oh
and
God, no.
you didn't
No,
trade
because I
any
finally
of that
felt like
stuff?
a grown up and just traded the big oil.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like it.
That was kind of my memory of it too.
Yeah, it's like I
Yeah,
finally felt like I did the right thing. Because when the first oil move was when we first met, and I wasn't as trusting of things and or seeing the value in things.
Mhm.
Um, Especially most how most of those moved. But yeah, no, I have a pretty strict oil list, and there's not a lot of smalls on it. Um, just not really. If you're not like if you're in the midstream stuff, you just pick the winners that you like, the stories that you like,
Yeah.
and kind of stick there. So yeah, not much, I would say.
Right. Yeah. I've talked about it before that when I do this, like I look at the screeners sometimes, and some of that stuff. I mean, bios obviously do this all the time, but it's like I know that you see that stuff,
I
but it's
get it.
like it's just not worth our time or discussion. To introducing something that can and probably will drop 40%, share side. Um, I don't have a safe way to talk about those stocks other than to just kind of joke about them and, post about them.
Real quick, the I got a screener that's zero. This thing's under $10. I
Yeah,
mean, it's 60%, 60, 50. Yeah. This one's 10 to 100. There's another. You ever heard me say Dawn or QER? No, you never heard that shit.
yeah.
And then this one's over $100. And then this one's just shit I got watch list. So yeah, I see it. I mean, the point of that is I fucking see it all.
Right.
What I choose to post about is a different story.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I get that too with a lot of times, and I'm glad when people post low, because there's some of them I don't see, but a lot of them that they'll ask me about. It's I did see that. There is a reason I'm not talking about it, and then that's a good opportunity for me. The thing about that conversation is my answer for, yeah, here's why I'm not talking about it, like, is it can be more complex than some of these names here. Like if someone were to bring it up, you're like, well, yeah, we don't talk about that. It's a piece of shit, and here's why. And it's a micro cap, and just uh, there's nothing to
I
sustain a move like
I
that
think
or
that
whatever.
people don't I don't want to say value, but it's the word I got. But they don't put enough into the. We watched these stocks for a few years in some cases. In some
Yeah,
cases, almost a decade. And you just bringing me something brand new I never looked at. I mean, I kind of give you. You can hear that in voice. It's like I don't know this stock. Like that's a huge deal when you don't know it. And um, I don't think people look at it as like, oh, this is a stock that Professor doesn't shut up about. I mean, we kind of joke about it, and the
yeah,
same on my end. If I'm not shutting up about something, there's usually a reason for it, and the familiarity. I guess we haven't touched on that lesson in a while, but it's huge to what we do and what we do when we first rotate to something. I mean, why wouldn't you when you first rotate? Like if you normally shop at Walmart and you go to Target, but you've been into Target to get toilet paper, why wouldn't you start there? You know, like you start with
right,
what you're
right.
familiar with. That was a horrible analogy,
The
but it's all I had.
the best truly new stuff, and then I'll get into the boring things, but um, they new names that do something strange and unique. Aerogel, cellulose fibers, or isotopes, or something like that. The flow read on a new name like that pops up. A lot of those do pretty well. You got to kind of size accordingly. But that was the origin of the quantum. I mean, I don't know who was talking about quantum computer stocks before us, but I don't think a lot of people were on it as a sector and saw the bigger picture on those names as quickly as we did. So the there are those moments 3-4 times a year where something completely new will will pop up. It gets more rare with time and experience, for me personally, but I still am mindful of that and still look for those stories. But the idea of an oil stock that I've never heard of, all of a sudden being some great thing, is not really that likely anymore. So yeah, I've just been in that. That's my most experienced sector, and it's like that. I mean, and there with software, I mean, there are some that pop up, but a lot of times I'll read the company description. I'm like, okay, I know why I've never heard of this one, and uh, and it's sort of a you know not going to be an A+ setup. So that's been my experience there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I just think yeah, the the price will make sense if it comes new. I mean, we do have our own little kind of rotation of stuff we let go and bring in, and it's gonna
Yeah,
hit all the checks pretty much to get into our club. The first time we don't
right.
we don't let the the half-ass plays in, so to speak. So um, took a while for Roku to get in, but glad it did.
Yep. All right. Onto the boring. Um, so copper is consolidating. Kind of talked about how this might happen. The opportunity here was the mid candle on that drop, or if you were brave, you could have just bought the when it was in the gutter. I mean, relatively speaking, it didn't even hit $4, but we're in the midst of the 5 to 7 thing. The best opportunity here on my end remains steel. And I do think I'll probably get back into some aluminum discussion coming up, but you can trade the range on the big copper names. I just think that if you didn't, get shares there, you kind of missed the boat. But yeah, I mean, a lot of those will set up at some new levels, and you're in kind of a new paradigm. And the reason for copper to move hasn't shown up in kind of the public consciousness yet, but still just a really important commodity and one we could trade around.
Yep, I'm on the steel. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I like those. I
Yep.
think we're on the same page with two of them, so gonna
Yes.
be there.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a couple. I don't trade as many of the. I mean, ever since since X is gone, I'm not on the big steel names that often. They do kind of show up for me sometimes, but there are two that are just um, so good, and I'm gonna trade the one that's gonna give 20 to 50% instead of the one that's gonna give 8 to 15. So that's just where we're at there. All right, then uh, silver. Um, you can trade a couple of these all day, every day. Not really, but but they're popping back up as they're gonna give you your 10-15% on these
Easy,
pullbacks. So
easy.
yeah,
Yeah, the names we
so
were on.
there's
All I mean, it's just a psychological thing for me. But I mean, if you're trying to scalp things currently, if you can trade that way or like to trade that way, um, it's I mean, yeah, there's plenty of meat on those bones. There's a few. I mean, yeah, I don't want to start name dropping, but
yeah,
any of them. I mean, pick one of them. They just got into that spot where they're overextended, so they have a high point, and they're pulling back to pretty much a round number. I don't know how else to say that. And then just retracing the range, and then so it's just price discovery over a 3 week period or 4 week
yeah.
period is what's going on there, and you can really trade that range.
Well, and on the option side, um, the IV is a little off on them. They you know, when you get a big move like that, you had the like extremely low IV sector. It's elevated IV, but not given the percentages that they're moving. I mean that some of those silver names should have implied volatility uh, comparable to you know, a semiconductor or something, and they don't. So that's advantageous for you too if you are if you're scalping options on them. You can do that. I don't tend to bother with that. I don't really get options on many stocks under $20. Just kind of a rule for me. But that's that's there too, and is gonna is gonna continue. And the $100 silver will likely come back, but just kind of enjoy enjoy the range. Be mindful of the the red days, the red mornings especially, and you can certainly trade those. Gold probably going to continue this uptrend. So I don't know how and where people want to tackle that. I still think you wait for the miner that has the really bad news, and then finds equilibrium. That's probably the trade to look for in there. Otherwise, you're just maintenance on what you have.
Yeah, the combo names for the if you're trying to play gold, I think are better, just on
Yes,
the range
yes.
side. So straight gold one's a little tougher for me.
Yep.
That was last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Oil. I don't know what can you say. Just enjoy the ride. I don't know. I don't have a lot to add. I think there will be some that pop up, but the last train from the station was where I brought Venom and Fang back up, and and then it took right off. Be mindful. There's a lot of times your high of the day is going to be pre-market on some of these wild days. So I guess just be mindful of that as far as if you have plans to scale out, and if you want to short the open on oil sometimes with options, you can do that. If my entire approach was to read bearish flow, like that would pop up. I mean, I keep that bear cave room around. I don't use it a lot, but I don't really want to get rid of it either. But anyway, if my mindset was completely that, there are some opportunities where a lot of these are going to get overheated and bleed out. Sometimes the bleed out's too slow to really trade, but again, listen to what I'm talking about. I mean, really, you should be positioned, and you should have some scale out plans on a move like this. And be mindful that we could go to 110, 120. Probably won't last long, but certainly could see that.
Yeah, I ain't got much to add there.
Here's your bigger opportunity: natural gas.
There you go.
And natural gas combo names, still the thing. The little rumblings about Russian oil sanctions, kind of working their, just sort of diminishing. We got our attention on other matters. You know, that's going to trigger some things in natural gas. All I'll say, and still very much it's 3 to 5. You need to establish 5, and then it's 5 to 7 with some extension a little higher is what I envision here. Just hard to time, and it's not going to be driven by cold weather, is what I'll say. Like the last spike was.
Yep, plenty of charts, plenty of opportunity. Those are the ones
Yep.
for me.
And uh, uranium, nice and quiet, and I expect we'll get a pop here. Spring and summer is going to be pretty good for some uranium names, I think.
Yeah, stay on all those. They're all tradable. 3 pack.
Off we go. Um, yeah, lithium. Just still a lot on the table here. I was just going over. I was kind of just spitballing some stocks. I think you'll get 100% on, and I mentioned I'm like I'm not even gonna talk about lithium. It's too easy to mention those. But yeah, many names like that. 60 to 100% still in the tank. Uh, you can some good red day ads, and that's kind of how I approach those. After a move like this, um, you get some healthy pullbacks and can get back in.
Well, with the entry like mine, that 100% is more like 100 or 200, 250%. So
Yes.
doing good there. I'm hanging out. I don't diamond hand many things, but I mean you can see the chart. I mean it's literally a TA play. If you just look at the chart on Professor's screen, that's what got me interested in the first place. And
Right. Right. Yeah.
I mean I guess it's skill I have, and some of y'all need, and you just need it in general. I mean it's non-negotiable for me to make it. I don't know why it's coming up right now, but it's just going to. But you got to be able to have a 3 year trade. I mean, I've mentioned that for years. Not that you need one, but
Yeah.
just that this is a 3 year trade. And you need to have that mindset, and you need to do that occasionally because they really do pay off um, in the long run. And it's not necessarily owning. That's not even an owning good companies angle because I don't think the. I mean, I'll say it. I don't care. I mean, I'm not telling anyone to enter it here, but the SGML, if it's not the 10 psych, SGML for me isn't a great company, but the thesis is everything lined up. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Yep.
$40
All
though,
right.
P. $40. I mean, it seems like not tomorrow, not next week, but it just got to go back there for without really.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the kind of the equilibrium, and it's a 42 or thereabouts, like 41, 42. Is a spot it defended last time before kind of the big breakdown. And that's where to me, when I look at the kind of reverse engineer the flow picture, that is sort of equilibrium for um, the commodity is like, I don't know, 32 to 50, something like that.
Sweet.
And we will get back into that spot at
Yeah,
some
man.
point.
It's still a long way to go, even for your low balls there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. So then,
Do that. 413, 413, 413, 413, 413. Oh, you passed it.
oh, yeah.
413. What do you know about that 413?
Right, right.
I'm Illuminati Rockefeller board member for the Federal Reserve. That's how that shit happens all the time. No, just a good
Yeah.
equilibrium though. I did watch it this week because it was moving a little bit, and I was kind of bored, at least on the entry side for most things. Um, but yeah, 413. God damn it.
Yeah. No, and that's uh, you're gonna the big candles are gonna hang around in these conditions.
Yeah, with it.
Just the market getting skittish with war stuff, and you can't. I mean, the thing is, unlike tariffs, you can't taco trade tweet your way out of people watching an oil refinery explode. Um,
Yeah, not really.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's you're gonna get that volatility, and but still, don't chase puts. Trend day down is rare. Like all that still applies. Just the 3-2 market with bigger threes, bigger twos. That the SPY 1% days will be more common these days, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you're just gonna
Um,
get a market that is narrowing and rotating to that value I talked about earlier, and
yes.
that value is gonna not be stuff that you're seeing, so it's gonna look like it's nasty because you're watching your sexy growth names, so to speak, and for me, that's fine. I got plenty of names for you. But you just got to be ahead of the curve on what you're looking for, and letting those run their cycle, so to speak, of accumulation and distribution, and being in the right spot to take a trade. So, but currently
Yeah.
in the short term, that the stuff that is moving, um, isn't really the sexiest on the planet. And last point on that, the volume's fucking ass. That just hasn't really came back.
Yeah.
So
Right. And on my end, a lot of the names that you see pop up, it's the Ivy Crush on Costco and Ivy Crush on CrowdStrike,
it's
and
profit
then
takers.
there are some. I'll talk about software is really running out of sellers. Okta made a move like 10%, and but I mean it was in the dirt. It just ran out of sellers. It conditions aren't particularly good. Um, Flow was clean, and I don't know that you should expect to get some big follow through, but you get action around the pivots. Snow's in that moment right now. But we read the Nvidia and all that stuff, and
The one that stands out to me, Pete,
really
is
well to stay away from them.
the ones that
Yeah,
stand out to me is like Square kind of tell you where the market at. Block, Square, whatever, XYZ, whatever you want to
yeah,
call it. Um, I know it. So like you listen to the ones you know, and it just ran right into 66. Like it just smacked it in the face, and it's like, in a good market, this should run to 75. I said that last. That
yeah.
was last week, boys. And we're still there. I mean, it's what it is, and it. I mean, I didn't make the 3-year volume P level. It just populates, and I read it right. So, but
Yeah,
hey, you
yeah.
just kind of know what you're in, and that provided two trades. The professor's usual. We just buy the fucking pain trade did really well, and then playing it back off 60 to 66. There's your 10% we talked about. Um, yeah, not a
Yes,
hard market, but you need to understand the ball field right now, and that's what it is.
and it was one of those. You can see how it kind of bracketed your the 60 spot in between my two little option pivots here.
Hell yeah.
Very old. These are really old lines, and so there were two trades there, and so hopefully people took advantage of that. But
Yeah,
but
but there's
buying
no
buying it
there's
up
no
here
there's no 85
doesn't
or
work.
80 in sight, and that's the problem with the
No,
market right now. And you got to just understand that and trade around that.
I didn't even. There was no roll to 70
Yeah,
when I had those, and I mean this was like a massive casino win. But there wasn't that next day roll to 70 and 85, and so it's like okay, that's all right.
take
I'll
some.
take the win, and
Yeah.
it's trade it again. But yeah, no, that's a good example of where we are. I agree. Uh, Good old
What happened?
Bitcoin. Yeah,
I thought. I mean, 70. I mean, I don't follow it like much. I do look at it probably more than
yeah,
SPY, but man, 72 came in. I was like, all right, we confirm this. These charts are gonna be good, but no, it did rejection off the 72 down here. That's not a good thing, TA wise, and we're still pouting down here. It's weird.
yeah. I mean, it was kind of the bid side calls. I'll kind of read it for a minute through MSTR, and I was 132. My whole note was our chart's a good example of this. Just ads under 132, 132, 132, and it popped there, had a nice surge, and then just died, and we're right back, and a bleed out back to the level like this. Not surprised it's showing back up. Definitely leery of getting back in. I do the hedged upside thing, so I don't care if it drops. It's fine if it does. I make more on the drops on some of these, but um, yeah, not great. Not great to just have no strength, off that move. So
I'm a full
Howdy
disclosure.
Basket.
Full disclosure. In our private sessions, this is not the screen that P shows because he's not a TA guy. Um,
No, no.
we get his full screen. I just brought up the 10 year, and it's what I said when we came through here. But the Auto RTL 143 is just that defined top, and then you also have, I mean, the 200 is probably more dominant. They're not letting it get above that 200, so just a defined
Yeah.
top if you are buying those, by scaling in or whatever you're doing when they do pull back. Weekly wick's really good here too. Um, you know where to get out at because it's not breaking that level. And I mean, I can also throw it on a chart that I trade and I know the level, and it's the same with Mara at 10. I mean, we talked about Mara when it dropped, um, being decent down here, closer to your level. Um, but the 10 spot, they're fighting to keep that under right now, and most charts are that way. Um, so for me, looking for ones that are on levels or that are the blue chips, probably the better, so to speak, plays in the sector. But
Well,
for me, the full circle there, P is like I need that 72 check to really want to be on these charts. That's just what my notes say currently.
here's the on the flow side. There was a moment where the OI wake up on coin 270 and 300 or March, where it had a shot. Not necessarily to get in the money, but to sell some hope and and get a pop, in the like 250, 260 area. Um, and now that's pretty much gone. And so, you don't you have another shot um, when this list clears out for the 320s. There's going to be some May contracts that are um, are relevant again, but this is just another example of 200 ain't shit. That with
Never
coin,
was.
how many times we've done this? Like it doesn't, like, 200 does not really matter. And there was a good shot on this one. It did show up in my notes, but yeah, I mean, coin is a um, 250 plus stock. It's probably a $500 stock, but the the setup here that had a shot died off, and you're gonna have to wait for another one. And that's and I'll be on it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But um, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And I don't think Bitcoin being cheaper is not better. You would much rather have it, you know, 72 holding strong with some extension to 78, 85, and start getting people thinking about 100K again. And we're not there.
That is the screen you do see in our private session. So
Correct. Yeah.
link somewhere. Coin I like because you made me follow it the whole fucking time. I
Yeah.
got good LT shares or good LT position. Not the hugest, but I do got some because of our generational argument entry. But
Yep.
I like that it's just shown the strength off the 200 since then. That's when you buy, and if it is a blue chip, like most blue chips, that's when you buy. And we just had that three candles. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but that was it. And right now you're just looking for 240 for me, 240, 250 to kind of confirm and go from there. And until you
Yeah.
see it and the chart shows it, it will probably be offered that 200 again. Um, so yeah, night is young here for me. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
giving way too much there.
no, no, right. And when I say um, hedged upside to you, it doesn't mean, it's like, okay, I'm not. Let me know when you don't have the hedged part, and we'll because you don't do that.
Yeah.
So it's very profitable. And you know, for me, those trades work very well, but it's a lot of maintenance, and I don't do it in really many sectors. A few tech stocks, but it's mostly crypto where I do that, because for it to be worth it, you have to have your occasional uh, down day of 8 to 10%, and MSTR gives you those. And it's not you can't do it on John Deere where your bad days are 1.5%
For
or
me,
3%.
for me, I know I just said like last week or the week before that, so I'm not gonna say it that way. I'm gonna say it a different way. But for me, I don't want to change my average because I'm not gonna say it the other way. Um,
Yeah.
from the $20 range to whatever it would be if I do buy here at 160, 170 when offered. So for me, it's
Mm.
just about portfolio management on that, and I don't. I'm not gonna trade. I just not gonna trade that chart in the current environment from 160 back to 200. Um,
Yeah.
you can, people can. That's a great share trade, to be honest. It's just not how I like to trade that chart or how I want to start trading that chart, and it'd fuck my notes up. When I go to my coin notes, it'd go from this like long term strategy to hit pre market low, scalp it at 180. I'm just not doing that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so for me, it's not bass fishing in the trout lake or something like that. I don't know.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. The I don't have any good uh fishing
Well,
analogies.
I can I can
Hey,
get
I pay the guy at South Padre to take us out, and I just put the rod in the water and see what happens.
I don't fish really. I mean, I do throw it into the water a little bit, but it's not. I'd rather be golfing at this point in my life. If my
Yeah.
buddy wants
Yeah.
to take me out, I'm definitely going and getting the free fish. But good time on the boat.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not the boat owner. And there's the better charts, P. I mean, we talked Mara. Mara's going to give me a bigger percentage, so just trade that chart. I mean, when it's just a
Uh,
thank you trade,
yes.
you're just getting a better percentage off of other charts. Um, Less stress in that regard.
Yeah, and even
I like the other one better that you brought in a long time ago, the ITF, BITF.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say, I mean, like a bit deer is gonna have its day, and some of these levels are a little bit tempting, but it's one that I'd rather 10 had held. I kind of don't like it being down this low. It loses some of its appeal,
Hey, that's the one.
but
238. Break it out.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. So anyway, some these will cycle back around, and there'll be a sector focus at some point. Let's see. Want to spy real quick?
Yeah, I mean, just definitely a red candle. If you just line it up with the last few, I had this already wrote down and ready to talk. Oops. If you just write down the last few candles or kind of look where they were, there we go. Um, this guy right here was 71 is a low, and you're 69. So kind of right here, just kind of this defined range. We haven't really, if you look right here, I haven't really touched this bottom of a range. So looking to check back it to that 75 and kind of hold it quick. 60 still hot stove. That 660 still kind of hot stove. So I said we had 3 to 4 more weeks. So expect to be here 3 to 4 more weeks. Really don't think we are checking back um, to that lower level at all. I don't see a big flush. I don't know if you do, but I just don't see it. We made it through the big boys on the earnings and all that stuff. So, um, yeah.
Well, so they are positioned for a worst case scenario. But I think it's hedging, but I'll just give it to you. So 320, 650, and June 630.
That 630's been
So
there the whole time, though.
correct. Right. And you have but I think the 660 March is maybe the more realistic part of that, where it's this week especially getting into the 660s, the lower 660s is as possible, and at that point they'll move this, which would probably bounce the market right back up. So the lower wicks reaching down another $10 or something is possible, but no, I don't think that they're positioned for some massive thing. So you only had 3,000 volume on this 630 June, so that half of it has to get more active for me to really think that this actually means something. So we're not quite there, but it is a week where they got something to work with on the downside, as
I,
opposed to it just being a complete outlier.
I think the bigger story or the bigger overall view here is that the shit's been happening Monday, Tuesday, and then we start coming back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then really focused on things Friday. That that rotational focus. But the pain's been coming out Monday. So for me, I'm looking for that. If it happens, it's going to happen right out the gate. Um, just kind of when where we are in the 3-2 market, so to speak. It's more the early release and then rotate back in.
There's yeah, and as far as the news trade goes, I mean, this is the first AI war, really, and so
Oh
you'll see
Lord.
footage. They'll take some footage of like a LA riot and throw some Arabic on it and tell you it's Iran or whatever. Like, you're just overwhelmed with the amount of news and the lack of knowledge people have about geography in that country and really anything. So I don't think that you're going to get extended reactions to things. War is for the weekends, like you talked about, and so yeah, I mean, you're gonna get some ugly futures Mondays, or some crazy oil moves when futures open, and then things kind of calm down. So we're probably in that mode for a while. I think I'm kind of with you there.
Perfect. Yeah, I was looking for some footage of the whole Navy blown up. They said, and all you can find, you see a lot of AI footage and not the real footage.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's out there, and you just you get your meme people all over everything, and um, so yeah, it's different than Walter Cronkite giving you the update every night and people digesting it that way. We're definitely in the information age, and the fake news era and all that stuff.
You ready to get to work, P?
Yeah, I need a couple
You're
minutes
good.
this session to get set up here, and with the time change, I had some schedule stuff come up, but yeah, so I like 10 minutes and then I'm good to go.
All right, perfect. Like and subscribe. Link somewhere, people.